There's a filmmaker that says every time you write a film, a part of your life is in that story. My name is Nick Ranger. I'm the Vice President of GVTV, the student media organization here on campus. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and that's really where I started filmmaking. I had a class down there in 6th grade, and my dad kind of pushed me into the class. He was a photographer, so he really wanted me to follow my art dream, which I didn't really have at that point, and he just kind of like pushed me into the class and made me take it, and I kind of fell in love. A year after I started the class, my dad passed away, and this was a huge shock to everybody. It wasn't any mental or physical health issues. So when he passed away, I actually dropped film for a little bit. I kind of stepped away for a couple months and just didn't really want to do anything artsy because he was my big drive, for film. Finally, I think it must have been January or February when I watched The Others, just a Nicole Kidman movie from like, I don't know, 2001 or 2 or something crazy like that. It's one of my dad's favorite movies, and I sat down and watched it because I was like, it's here and something I could do to pass the time. And there's a twist at the end of the movie that, at that time I didn't remember what it was. And I watched it, and it just like reinvigorated something in me. It made me like, oh, this is what my dad loved about this movie so much. And it just kind of pulled me back into it, not only because I felt like I was doing it for me, I felt like it was a way to release and a way to get out of the day-to-day, but also it felt like it was kind of a connection to my dad, and that was kind of a cool way to like honor him. My films, they do tend to take a lot from me as I write. I think any writer puts a good amount of themselves into the story. That's what makes stories unique. So I think my films take a lot on of who I am as a person and kind of what I've done in my life. So yeah, I think a lot of filmmaking in general is very personal, and it gets to a level where I'm putting myself on screen. So from conception to actually like showing a film, it's one of those processes that is different for everybody. For me, for Fighter at least, I mean, we use Fighter as an example, the most recent film. I used to love going through story prompts, and I would come across one every now and then and just really like it, so I'd save it somewhere. And one of them that I came across was main character goes to commit suicide and gets kidnapped. So I started writing it. At the time, I was going through some pretty dark stuff. I had fallen into a pretty big bout of depression and had been going to therapy, and I felt really confined into my room, and my room at home is it's pretty small. It's a pretty small room, blank walls. And I just fell into this bout of like not feeling myself, feeling depressed, and I wanted to write about it in a way that I could kind of bring that, story to life. And, the film became a pretty big success, I think. I think the hardest part, other than writing, was in the edit process. There are some scenes that are pretty hard to watch. It should be like actually releasing the end of April, so we're super excited. Filmmaking, not only for me, isn't something that I can just do to escape. It's also like a way for me to connect to kind of this art scene that my dad had. So yeah, that's a big draw for filmmaking for me. It's a way for me to connect.